Hey, how are you? I know you're going to bed, you're watching football, you're watching movies. You know, enjoy football. Let us see here. If we are out of this prison, not yet. That is fine. That is fine. Hi, how are you? Let us humble ourselves with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor. Thank you for your loving kindness. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for knowledge. I decrease and you increase. Give me the right articulation of words. Let your will be done. Let your love prevail. Father Jehovah Jireh, King of glory, King of mercy, you're awesome in this place, Abba. You're awesome in this place, mighty God. I decrease and you increase. Give me the right articulation of words. And speak to us tonight. I give you praise, I give you glory, I give you honor. In Jesus' mighty name I believe and pray. Amen and amen. As we are back here, my feeling cold. I was looking for something but I can't find it, so it's okay. Hey, hope you've had a lovely day with your family, your friends. I'm also alive. I'm alive doing what I love. Pushing higher, pushing harder. Giving up is not an option for me. It has never been. Yes, even when I feel that I'm getting tired, I will push it. Because when I am lazy, I don't do nothing. I choose bambye gimenyese empewo y'okubeerawo kuwa. Are you a team leader out there? Do you know what it means to be a team leader? I just came to just empewo eyafuuwa mu kiwonvu omwali amagumba agataliko nnyama omwali amagumba ne gafuuka eggye tugyetaaga empewo y'okubeerawo ku yes tugyetaaga empewo y'okubeerawo ku yes yes tugyetaaga tugyetaaga oh tugyetaaga tugyetaaga empewo tugyetaaga 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 tugyetaaga. Are you a self-made team leader? Were you chosen by people? Were you chosen by God? Did you just step in simply because there was no one to fill the gap? Do you know what it means to lead? Do you know that the well-being of your teammates is your concern as a team leader? Your teams have to be healthy. Your teams have to have whatever it takes for them to accomplish the assignment. Their well-being is very important. Are they married? Do you know that they are married? Do you know that they have children? Do you know whether they have jobs or not? Or you just collect people and put them on your team simply because you have a book to write, you have a vision and a dream. So basically you collect people so that you fulfill your dream. It is not bad, but is their well-being your concern? I've worked with very many people, but people's health is none of their concern, but they want them on that team. Do you know that when you wake up, you're supposed to find out how your teammates slept? As a team leader, do you do that? Do you say hello to them every day? Or you only remember them when there is an assignment? Then you remember and you're like, oh, then you send them things. You see, everyone when I started teaching and telling you about the wrong you do, you got annoyed. Because you hate the truth. And you're like, I'll not send her my things again. It is because you're guilty. That is a sign of guilt. That is a sign of guilt. Now you cannot send anything. You cannot. I know you haven't been saying hello ever since I came out and I said you people are doing bad. You don't send hello, so it is okay. When peace like her, at least chandaga your background. Gye wakulira we bakugambako ng'onyiiga tojja na kubuuza ku maama wo wadde taata wo. When sorrows like sea billows roar, but ever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to see. So kati olwakuba ina empisa embi n'oteekako ka ignoring card. Nedda mukwano, bw'okola ensobi weetonda n'ogamba nange tusaba kutusonyiwa. N'okyusaamu n'otereezaamu. It is well. You don't just ignore and block people. MCNBC nungi. Or in a business, your business needs people. Your book is to be read by people. Me, I'm telling you, you are a counselor. You have to counsel people. You don't counsel animals. I might look useless today, but let me tell you something. The trials should come. This blessed assurance control. For us, our efforts are always in the background. Has been guarded by helpless Esther, and had shed his mercy. Nze sibeera munange ku front line ebyo byakunteeka mu kamera kundaba. Nze mbeera mu jokoni. Ne nkulaba ng'olinnyako nga nze ettoffaali ng'olinnya okola oti. Kubanga nze ettoffaali lyange bwe nditeekawo likula ne likutwala we bati. It is well. N'embeera eyo abakyali ne mbatabbiramu ne mbagamba oyo awandiika ebitabo bya kabi. N'embeera eyo ne mbagamba oyo content builder wa kabi. N'embeera eyo ne mbagamba mwana we programu eyo mugirabe baya kabi nnyo, you know. My sin, all the bliss. I've done this for years. Restore. And I recommend you. Because go asinga mu kintu kino. Kati empisa embi. Tozifuula busungu. Just changing them. To the cross. And I bear it no more. Be bantu abakuzibwa bwe twebakola bwe wakuzibwa nga tewakula bukuzi. Oh my soul. Nze gye nakulira buli omu atugambako munange. Nentuka ku mukolo abantu abatajja waffe tulaba ne bataalawo okumbuulirira ku mukulu nga ndi ku maviivi nazze kubuuza nyambadde katonya mooli. Ne ngenda ku maviivi ne batandika okumbuulirira. Ne ngamba yenya yesa. Bwe nnyimukawo nti. Byangambye sibirekaawo. Sometimes mbirekawo nga ndabira ddala yeerimba. With my soul. Nkubuulira amazima sagala kulimba. It is well. Nga mpuliriza nga mala gambe mulekera gambe dda. Naye olw'okuba nina sharp memory era njibirowoozaako. Ne ngamba binnyamba oba tebinnyamba. Simple. Naye n'obeera eyo n'onyiiga empisa zize. Gwe lwaki okola empisa embi? Nze munsobera. Gwe mukodo, gwe tagaba. Ate onyiiga. Onyigira nze. Tolina gw'oyamba. Esizo gye tulimu ya kuyambagana. You want to be helped. You want people to see your thing. Gw'oyamba ani? Bwe navaayo ne mbagambako mwenna ne munyiiga. Ne mumpaka ignore silence. I'm like, abajjako blue ticking ne bagijjako. Kale muli wakabi ate abalokoka mutsanyisa. Kyova olaba kati mbeera eno nga nsanyuka. Nga ngamba banyiige. Nze nga nkumba nga nneeyongerayo mu maaso wenti. Nakugambye beera mulamu tofa. Ajja kunsanga ku street onkubire kajjambo. Hallelujah. Nze sikyalina budde mwanatu. Time gye ndimu. Abadde atyo nno. Gekwe afuga. Genda maaso sukuma. Yeah. Eyantuma ajja kumbuuza lipoota nga nkanula amaaso. Yegwe afuga. Sina gambuuza bibuuzo ndeka. Hallelujah. Nkumyeko mwanatu. kuwadde eddakiika just nnyo weeteeketekawo mu kitanda kyo nga bw'ondaba. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Tofa mukwano, tofa, njagala ondabe. Njagala tofa. Njagala okulaba abaana bo nga bakuze. Yegwe kabaka amawanga gonna. Tofa mukwano, ina okundaba. Tofa. Tofira mu December, tusigazayo ennaku 2. Making sure ekiro kya leero ozaala. Tofa. Atumus. Yeah. Njagala ondabe nyabula. Saagala ontambuze lwa bibi byokka. Njagala n'ebirungi obibagambe. Kubanga omulimu gwe wagenda ng'onjogerako. Njagala n'ebirungi obibagambe. Nyabo. Njagala ofune ebyonoonyumya nga ngenze. Sukuma gwe. Gwe kabaka. Jango wano ku front line nkulabe. Ngotrayipinga nga mwambuka. Ovanga Katonda gwe. Nze ka silent ignoring mumpadde. Kankusabiremu ekintu kimu. Nti Katonda tagenda kukwata okyuke vote. Nga teri asobola kuyamba nga nze nsobola. Nzeka. Ogenda okuba essimu nga secretary agamba, the number you're calling was switched off. And try again tomorrow. Olyoka ojja mu ofiisi yange ng'ogamba, kale oyo omwana tasoma naye, kale omwana mumenyi. Maama abaana balina olugezigezi. Omwana asobola tulina okulinda nti secretary. When God gives you an opportunity to work with people, respect them and love them, no matter what. Alina ebisumuluzo tojja bimanya. Ojja genda ojje mu America ng'oli stranded. Ng'ennambo olina yange yokka. Ng'endala ozikuba teziyitamu. Nga poliisi ekutte. Nga nze ntuula wali awolereza. Nga mpitawo buyisi n'osanga nga ani oyo? Esther! Nga nkola nti abadde agamba ki? Bwakusitula akutuuza n'abalangira. Okitegere ekintu ekyo? Bw'oba oggalawo oluggi, luggala mpola mpola tolukuba. Tolukuba. Ebyo byowooza sijja sina kyemwe mpola mpola. Olwo oluggi ojja luwulira. Wezinire mukaana. Oluggi tolukuba. Galawo mpola mpola. Tolukuba kuggwerayo. Kubanga ojja kulwetaaga. Katonda ono omulaba. Akuzza gy'obadde toyagala kudda n'ogamba ye. Oyo bamuyise Yesu. Maama. Abalungi bamala ne bakaddiwa. Ne baggwa ku mpagala bamala ne bakaddiwa mannaatu. Open your Bibles in Genesis. We are looking at a team leader's life and the instructions that God gave the team lead. He's the vision bearer. You're the vision bearer. Did you choose yourself to be the team leader because there was no one to stand in the gap? Were you chosen by people? Did God choose you? Those are three things. Do you think these three people behave the same? The one who invented themselves? You know, when people have visions, they become team leaders automatically because the idea is theirs, right? Then there are those that are chosen by people. And they're like, Esther, nze mmanyi osobola, I second you. And they second you. Omulala naaba nga Katonda yamulonze, nga temwina kyakola nga yamulonze. Najja n'abagamba oyo gwe njagala. Do you think these three people behave the same? They're all team leaders, right? It was your dream. It was your assignment. It was your call. You need the people. And we are all different, we are all unique, and we will all contribute. Ate batukwatira awamu, agaluma awamu gega, agakola gatya ge galumenyama. Luganda sirumanyi nange gwa mu lugoye. Okitegete kitto ekyo. Weeyise bulungi. Katonda ono omulaba. Ojjako era ku makya ogamba oyagala genda UK. Nga nina ennamba y'omuntu gy'osobola otuukira n'akusuza. Nga siri UK naye nga nsobola okufunira e UK. Nze connection mbeera nazo. Zisubira na wiikiringisi. Ojjako era ku makya oŋŋambe ogenda Norway. Kugambe nga nkukubira essimu nga bakuyamba. Ng'oli stranded. Ojo genda onkubira essimu ng'ogenda China. Ng'oli stranded ng'essimu zenjirina. Weeyise bulungi ku bantu. WhatsApp group tekwemazaamu. WhatsApp namba yo tekwemazaamu. Katonda yaleka omuntu n'akola essimu. N'ayanguyiriza ku bintu bya communication. But the first inventor of a phone is in the Bible. Don't play with that phone. It's a communication line. So careful when you're cutting communication. You might cut the only lawyer off who is going to help you out there. I don't believe in a saying that says that for you can't forgive. You can't go back there. I don't believe in that thing you don't talk to your ex. I've never believed in a word ex. The only X I know is, what is it called? The X and Y chromosomes that make a DNA. That's all I know. Because the devil hates relationships, he made sure he creates a word called X. Because he loves playing with relationships so that they can break. He doesn't want people to work together. He wants chaos. All he wants is chaos. So since I don't like those words, why not stay in the waiting room? The Bible says he who sees a wife to marry favors in the eyes of God. Stay in the waiting room. Why live a lifestyle of a group that everyone in the group is married, everyone is giving birth? For what? Awalokoka no musambesa. Yeah. Yesu beyanasa no musaigo yeah. Omutukuvu awakola. I never started networking, but It's one of the things I do with ease, and you get what you want. After getting what you want, you reach there, make friends, then go to ngonzirako. Hey! Bwenzija ne nkugambako n'onyiiga n'oleka blocking ne ngamba nga nze nali kukwanjulako nga munnange omwami we ye yakundaga. Kati nze gw'ogenda owalampa mukwano nga twajja ewammwe ne tukukima nga nze nali ku mukolo gwo nga nfa n'emirimu oyisaamu nze amaaso nga nali ku ttiimu eyakusabira mwannaatu nze kwoyisaamu amaaso sente tekwemazangamu. Bw'otandika okunyirira n'olekera okusiiwuka teweerabira gy'ova. Twakulaba nga oli musiiwuufu tebikukwatako your history. Mwannaatu, let me tell you something. Your history is your stepping stone. We are in your foundation of your marriage, your school, your progress. Don't you ever play with foundation. Because when foundations break, the house will sink. Umanye mpuliriza nnyo abantu nga boogera nga bagamba ebyo si kikulu. Nenkola nti ne ngamba, are you sure foundation si kikulu? Is there a house that doesn't have a foundation? Where will it sit? Ebyo by'okoze ng'otambula obiraba ebyo by'otatereezezza ebyo. Byafuuka kitundu ku inheritance w'abaana bo. Okulaba omulokozi Katonda bw'aba tannakikubikkulira si musango. Okitegedde? Buli kintu kibeera n'entandikwa. There is always a first time. Bw'oba Katonda tannakikugamba si musango. Katonda ky'atannakugamba togenda nga ate okiwalula nga bw'oyagala. Everyone has a foundation. Bw'otabeera na history, present togenda gitegeera. Omuntu eyeerabira teyeebaza. That's one thing I know. Mbalabye ntambudde nammwe mwerabira temwebaza kubanga ewammwe tebaabibasomesa. Olubagambako empisa embi nga mu blocking abantu mukola silent mode kyokka muli bazadde kye kinneewuunyisa. Ne ngamba kati mukwano ebyo bintu bigenda kusigala mu legacy yo. Abasajja baali 10, it's only one that came back to say thank you. Abagenge. Esther tonzijukiza nnaku yeewaffe mukwano. Omwo Katonda mwe yayimirira n'abawa omukisa. Nze manyi simanyi ani akusomesa bintu mpulira abasumba bamu abamu nga babishaaninga nenkola wenti nengamba. Musumba Katonda ky'atakubikkulidde si lutalo. Oli musumba, toli apostle, toli prophet, toli teacher, toli evangelist, toli just musumba. Ati olumu tetubyawula. Mutandika okubyawula ndi kubuweereza obutaano. Good. To my English speaking community, I love you out there. I love you. And you Rabutamanya Orembera yensenkurusanya. Don't know buli omuntu eyerabira teyeebaza kubanga ewaabwe tebaabibayigiriza. Bayibuli etugamba okuddayo okwebaza. You don't ignore, you go and give thanks. Obeera otya ne batteammates bo, abantu b'okola nabo, abantu abasupportinga business yo nga tobabuuzaako. Ewammwe tebaabayigiriza kubuuza abantu. Ebyo bye bintu ebikuuma omukwano. Katonda ono omulaba yeewuunyisa akola ebyekisa. Abaana bo bw'obalaba mwana ajja kusanga omwana wange amukwane. Abaana bo be bakulu. nze gw'otayagala kwogera naye nga yenze nnyazaala omwana wo kyokka Esther Solome iye omwana wo ojja genda omusindika abuloodi ajja okusoma asanga abaana bange nga tuli eno waweeru ogendeyo nga weewaana bananga omwana wange yasinkanye omuwala yasinkanye omulenzi bananga omwana wange bananga omwami ava omuko ava abuloodi bananga omukyala ava abuloodi omukolo gutuuke bakugambe nti maama w'omugole ajja maama nze kankakuteme namwanduka yatema omusika namwanduka yatema omusika gwatambuuze yambulooki nga ndaba ng'ekisaaniiko nga kawalako mutabani wange akatwala nyabo nga bagamba maama omugole ajja nti banage maama omugole ani amumanyi nga tetumulabangako nga nze ewuyo mugomesi ejja kubeera ya raid ebirimu ebya gold nga nze nonyumye maama w'omugole ntuule ku mmeeza mu maaso ate gwe nga Amerika yakumaavuiza yagiwa abaana tulyoke tutwetikka omwana wo tumuleeta abuloodi alyoke azaalire eno abazzukulu tukuweereze ng'ebifaananyi obanga katonda mwene ojja genda osindika akaanako omubukazi wano kusoma nga nze nkasuza nga tekalina pocket money Esther ekigobye nti ekyo kiddira eri ogobye omukisa nze ndi mukisa mukwano ekyo tenena bwokiŋŋamba mmanyi nze mbatunulire nga mukola ebintu tunekola Genesis 13 katonda ono mutabani wakuleetera omuwala nga tomanyi bazadde ba muwala nga omuwala tomulabangako ng'omuwala mulungi nga nazaala omwana omulungi nze wagenda ng'ogamba mbu sizaala nja kukubako omwana omuwala ndyoke nkwate mutabani wo muteekemu eya tikiti nga embasi nje nkitegeerera nakugambye tofa tofa megashosigala oli mulamu omwana okete mulete mu Amerika nga n'ennyumba gyeri nga mutabani we teyeetaaga abonaabonakola nga ffe abasajja twakola dda olowooza nkola ki wano atindesemaanato Genesis chapter 13. So Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot his nephew. Now he's taking Lot, his nephew. And the Lord never told him to carry a relative. Your wife is not a relative. Your wife is family. Is next of kin. Now this young man, this old man is taking a young kid with him, whom the Lord has not said. Team leader, do you follow instructions? Or you just do your own things? Do you know the problems you're going to make? Do you know that you're going to fail exams? For God to entrust you with people, He starts training you with simple things to see how far you can go, how obedient you can be. Many team leaders have made mistakes. Some God has given them an opportunity to correct them, some have not. And things are not nice. Things are not nice. Esther. Continue. And Lot his nephew with him into the Negev, the south country of Judah. Now Abram was extremely rich in livestock and in silver and in gold. When God chooses you, you were rich. He was extremely rich. Extremely rich. You've not reached the extreme. You're just a survivor. Now Abram was extremely rich in livestock and in silver and in gold. He journeyed on from the Negev as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, where he had first built an altar. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord in prayer. He built an altar. The first altar was built by Canaan and Abel. As a team leader, do you have an altar? Do you know what an altar is? As a father in the house, you are a team leader. Do you have an altar? What do you teach your children? Fathers, what do you teach your children? I have seen you put your kids on your status. You know, some of you have white kids, some of you have black kids, some of you have mixed kids. What do you teach your babies? And some of you have very young kids. And I look at your babies and I'm like, man, if the father has a rotten character, now what do I expect from these babies? If a father can be so vulgar at his age, what about his kids? There is no apple that falls far from the tree. That kid of yours has something about you. And when they're of a particular age, those things are going to come out. Because they are part of them. It's a legacy. It's in their inheritance. Careful what you do out there. I've already seen people on social media. There are some people when I sang you as shocked and I'm like, do you know that you're live on Facebook? I was like, do you guys understand that you're on Facebook when you're doing your stuff? I love playing around. But there are certain things I don't want to do live. And I'm like, okay. Abram had an altar. And there, Abram called on the name of the Lord in prayer. Where do you go when you are praying? Do you have an altar in the house? Do you have an altar? Oh, they just, you're just being helped. You're just being housed. At least you have a bed. You can build an altar on your bed. The challenge is you bring people on your bed. Is that your husband you bring in your bedroom, Esther? Boys, is that girl you keep bringing in your house, is that your wife? Do you have an altar in the house? Do you have a secret place? Do you have a war room? Do you have time to pray? Now you're watching football till late. You have kids in the house. Did you get time to kneel down and say prayers before kids went to bed? How will you even do it when your parents did not do it with you? Manange current parents, please, girls and boys, have some time with the kids as a father and a mother, even if you're separated. Kubanga ffe omulembe gwaffe abantu abali mu myaka gyange n'okunsingako abatakula ne maama ne taata babonaabona nnyo mwana. They don't know many things. Bakulu bukulu mu myaka naye tebamanyi bintu bingi. Ekintu ky'otayizeewo, something you haven't learned while growing up, it is very hard to do it. If you'd never grew up with a father and a mother in the same house, now with your kids you're the first father. Now you're being a father. But there are things you don't know. You need friends who were raised by fathers. And they tell you how they do it. A man who never grew up with a father, they behave completely different from a man who was raised by a dad. I know. I see you. I can tell who was raised by a man and who was not. I can know. I see. Your character, trust me, disrespected you and undressed you. There are things you don't know. Fathers out there, please correct your mistakes. Naye tuli bubi. It is not the fault of the children. The challenge we are having, the children don't want to learn. But you're also having children. It's going to be hard. You cannot lie to me, mbubobere kasimanya. Ebyo limba abo bajalibo. Empisa your character, the way you behave around people, yendaga nti tolina tata utabira ng'omulamu. Bamama, single mothers, please, you have relatives who are men in the family. Send your boy child to talk to a real man. Please. When my brother was growing up, because we were only girls at home, Mama allowed my brother to go and stay with relatives who have more boys. My brother loves girls because he grew up in a house that has only girls. And Tata is their man. But he needed to play with boys to know how it works, to understand the concept. A boy child needs it if he doesn't have a fellow brother. My parents did their part to raise the boy in him. But it was also healthy for him to stay around other boys who are older than him and who are younger than he is. My brother loves kids. We used to go to church, and instead of my brother being in church inside, he's outside lying down on the grass and babies are seated on him. When he went to Watoto, he was at Watoto for some time. He did his discipleship classes in Watoto. And I remember he picked up on a child. They were in a group. They picked up on a child to take care. My brother loves children. You find him carrying babies on his neck. Mama made sure my brother learns how to cook. My brother is a good cook. I think he's even better than I am. The way we were raised as girls is the same way Mama made sure my brother learns things. Unless if he doesn't want to do it. Parents, endeavor, if you don't have a man in the house, women, please you have male friends or in your family, let that boy spend some time with real men. Because if he grows up and he does not know how to be a man, how to be a father, it's going to be difficult for him when he gets his own children. Life is going to be tight. I'm telling you. Mama, stop pampering that boy. You're destroying your own legacy. I'm telling you. Teach your kids how to pray. Not food prayers. The way you spend time outside taking them for bumpy jumping, swimming, ice cream. Mama, create on your roster. We had a week with Tata, a week before school. No TV, no radio. We are going to be praying and fasting full week. Those who go to work, you go work, come back home. At 8, you're all supposed to be in the sitting room. Because at 10, those who go to school are supposed to be in bed. No, we are in holiday. We don't sleep in bed. All of us in the sitting room. All of us. All of us, no one is above the law. All of us. That is how important God is in my Father's house. Don't put Bibles on the cement. Don't put caps on the Bible. He was teaching us how to respect the word that we see. So that when it comes to the God we don't see, respect is on another level. My whole life I used to see my father on his knees when you say it's time to pray. On his knees. When others stay in the seat seated, my father goes on his knees. Because when it is time for his God, we don't discuss about it. That is his time with his God. Prayer first. Prayer is one way of communicating to the Lord. Tata, being a team leader starts in the house, not outside your house. If you do not know how to be a team leader at home, you can't be anyone's leader outside. You're going to struggle, you're going to cry, it is going to be tough. Because outside you're going to find people who have a particular character, which is just beyond measure. Because as a team leader, when things go south, if you have a culture of prayer, you will always go back to the Lord, and it will be easy for you to maintain the standard of your teams, to accomplish assignments. But if you think you're going to use your energy, you think you're going to shout, shouting at people you never raised, you're joking. Those people you never raised, you will see. Those people you did not raise. You need a prayer altar. You need to teach your kids how to pray. I am alone if I did not know how to pray. In this season, I told you 2020, they were going to tell you she died in COVID. But because my Father gave me a very strong foundation, Many people fear isolation. I saw pastors giving testimonies how they got COVID and they were isolated and they could not believe. They felt neglected. COVID made people feel useless. They felt like they are not wanted. How they put food there and they run around, you come pick the food as if those Moses' days, the Wobera Nechigenge, you stay outside. When you have leprosy, you stay outside the tent. If I did not know God, if I did not have a personal encounter, a personal altar, you have no idea. When you send things to people and they ignore you, they remove the blue tick. They don't answer back. They put timers. They throw you off groups. I was thrown out of church groups. My prayer altar here. The media group I was in when I was in the media department. The church threw me out. They changed all the WhatsApp groups for young adults, for women. You have no idea what I went through. When I had people telling people never talk to her again, you got no idea. When I was told I should take away my frustrations, you don't know. I was called a monopolist by people I have known for years. People we've done stuff with. When people throw you off the group, then they talk about you and you get everything. Then they come and then when you come, they all keep quiet as if there is nothing. I know everyone's heart. If I did not have a foundation of Jesus, if I did not have a personal prayer altar, hey, Yahweh, singo manyi, you've never gone through such a thing in a season that is tough, like this one where you need people. And someone who caused the commotion calls you and they say things as if they've never done anything. And I'm like, no apology, no nothing. They destroyed your reputation. They made other people throw you out. And to them it's very normal. As if they didn't do anything. And in my mind I'm like, Jesus of Nazareth. This one caused commotion. But to them it's nothing. I'm like, this is how we die. But I thank God for giving my life to Christ. Abantu nobagambako empisa embi ne banyiiga. Abantu abaalokoka. N'agamba kati oyo sirina kye nsobola musindikira olw'okuba nakugambyeko mwe abantu abakulu abamotivating abantu baffe. I tell you now. Nensirikirira bwe nti sizoni nendaba abantu nga boogera ebintu nenkola nti neŋŋamba noono but God is good. God is so good. People who used to check on me daily and say hello. Ogisindika n'akulaga nti tagisoma n'ozikuba amasimu tebagakwata. Neŋŋamba Esther, eyeesiba ku mulungi afa awoza. Esther, kola Katonda kye yakugamba ogende maaso. Kambasabire baleme kufa. One day, you're gonna be 1,000 watching that eye. tofa njagala okirabeko. 1,000. Gye nkuwadde for now, including you. Ugandans, go and watch other people from other nations. N'obasanga eyo abakyala b'abasumba. My eye sees a lot of things. N'obasanga ku nsi endala nga batudde eyo ne babitambuza. Abantu ne bakuweereza obuntu bwa muwala TDJX nga kirasi zange tebajja. Please never compare me to any child. Thank you. Don't compare me. When I was growing up, my mom used to say those things. Nga bwe mukola ekintu n'anyika nga gamba, kale olaba abaana bagundi, nga mutima gange mugamba genda obeere mama w'abali. I'm not in competition with anyone. Africa, Uganda, the day you will learn to support your own. The word development for now is very far. You want to be supported, you're going to learn to support others. I see you excited. Kati mwayize empisa mutandise okwebaza abantu abasupporting. We support you because we love you. But I asked, can you reciprocate it? Okulokoka okulabye. If I did not have a personal relationship with Christ, nandifudde ne banziika. Ne mugamba yafudde presa nga mmwe munzise. But having a personal relationship with Christ is very important. Please stay alive so that you can see me. Or you can hear about me. Please stay alive. As you see me evolve, I'm no longer an eaglet. I'm an eagle. But Lot, who went with Abraham, also had flocks, herds, and tents. Now the land was not... We were looking at the prayer altar. When you have a prayer altar, you need to cultivate the presence of the Holy Spirit. If my father had told us how to pray, I wouldn't know how to do it. He emphasized prayer and reading the word, which when I was growing up, I didn't want so much because it felt like atubonya. Whenever I would come back from work, I'm like, oh Lord, have mercy. But when I went to the university, I got to the point why he wanted me to read the word daily. Because at the university, I'm alone. I choose when to go to bed. I choose if I want to go to class or not. You know. I choose what to dress up in. Now the land was not able to support them, that is, sustain all their grazing and water needs, while they lived near one another. For their possessions were too great for them to stay together. When people start getting stuff, there is a way they start fighting. They start to fight for space. careful when you're carrying people along that journey that God has started in your life. People got annoyed with me about the green card issue. But it's because they didn't know who I am. They did not understand the concept of giving your life to Christ. I don't live a life of a liar. I don't lie. If I was going to do that lifestyle, I wasn't going to tell my parents about going abroad. I was just going to pack my bags and disappear. I'm good at disappearing. I am good at hiding. I looked at my father and what he has gone through because of salvation. I looked at my mother. These two people have loved us so much in and out of season. They've gone through a lot of things because of Jesus. And I looked at myself and I'm like, is America heaven? I stood on my two legs, knowing very well I don't have a job, knowing very well I'm having healthy issues. My parents are struggling. I am the firstborn. Everyone is looking up to me. I stood on my two legs and I said, I will not do what they're telling me to do. They can stay with it. Then I told the person, do you know the story of Daniel and his friends? His friends were thrown into the fire. And in that fire, the king saw them throw 3 men. Later he saw a 4th man. Now this is Esther exercising the word of God in an amazing way. I am not just saved. I walk the talk. The man who is my father walked the talk, and he lost friends who cannot apologize for the things they did. When you decide to walk with the Lord, you're gonna lose people. But be ready. With God you gain, with man you lose. I saw it repeating itself in my life and I was like, wow. When Tata was sick and I was home, I never saw his so-called servants of the Lord coming home to see him. Family members that came home, I don't know. Tata's OBs and OGs came once home that he studied with in Namasakadi. They were coming from abroad and they had gone to Pastor Tom to pray. Then they met him and they were excited. And he came with them home. I wasn't there. A lady and a man. I think Mom Seruwaju was one of them. There were 3 or 2, I don't know, because I wasn't home. I've seen history repeat itself, my time as it happened on my father's time. When he was talking about walking right with the Lord, and people did not like it. Every generation has its own things. Empisa zaffe, or our character, the way we do things, we are basically in church People are basically talking about development, coming from kadongo style to tiles and other things. That's not what God is looking at. God does many things. Building churches, you will build until Jesus comes back. The season we are in, God is not looking at development through the things you achieved, the material things. God is looking at righteousness. Katonda ekimunenyesa ekkanisa obutuukirivu is no longer part of the church. We now agree to do anything, anytime, on condition chikuyisaawo. We no longer wait upon the Lord. People have gone abroad, but they lie. God sent the pastor abroad to preach the word and go back home. They stay here and lie about it. And they stay to get documents. And they have struggled. They have struggled so much that it is irritating. It's bad. And they are walking alone. Of course, when you pray, you're just a vessel. He will answer. But people are not working on their personal relationships with Christ. It's about the miracles. That is what God obutuukirivu kyanenyeza ekkanisa. It's not about development. Ebyo Katonda abikola buli lunaku. Abantu bazimba, bagula amamotoka, they go abroad, lately going abroad. Kyaggwamu n'essupu. God wants us to go back to the foundation of righteousness. These men had a lot of things, and the space was not enough. We've seen that in church. You have achieved many things. Kati owulira oli munene tokyajjana mu kifo n'ogamba manyi to expanding. But what is God saying about this? You've even started fighting. These men were fighting. Let's continue. For their possessions were too great. Verse 7, and there was strife and quarreling between the herdsmen of Abraham's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. Back in that day, you would not fight pastors. It was rare because there were a few. When you are a few, you work together. It is easy. But when you expand, expansion is good. Trust me, I love expansion. That shows growth. But what growth are we talking about? Do you know that there is having a big carrot when inside it's rotten? That is what is happening in church. People are bickering and fighting and quarreling. They are backbiting each other. Instead of praying and working together, they are quarreling, bad-mouthing this one, the other one. Is that also part of development and growth in church? No, I don't understand. I'm against the city qualified in anything. I was not qualified by anyone. So I'm asking, I need to understand. Omanyi wavaayo noyogera mu lujjudde olina okubeera omwegendereza ng'oyogera. Ango gy'olabiramu ebintu si buli omu gy'agirabiramu. Tuko pamoja? You say sawa. You're seeing things as a pastor, you're seeing things as an apostle, you're seeing things as an evangelist, you're seeing things as a prophet, but you're not an overseer. An overseer sees above it all and comes in and rescues the situation. He cannot or she cannot just keep quiet. Unless if your overseer was not called by God. Some of you think you're parents, but you're with the wrong spouses, and your marriage is struggling. Why? First of all, you got that man through a friend. They just saw you and they're like, I think I like you. Someone is looking for a wife. I don't like those things. You can imagine, someone did not apologize for the wrongs they've done in your life. Now they think you need to get married and they look for a man for you. And some people think, I'm stressed, I'm alone now, and I need a man. Says who? Do you know me? You did not pay attention to know me. Where do you get the right to look for a man for me? You throw me off groups. You block me. And you sit there and say, I think that girl needs a man. Who gives you the right? And what kind of man are you sending me? I'll ask you. We are going to learn some things. As a team leader, stop doing things the way you want. I'm not worthy to sit on your groups. I'm not worthy to be part of your families. I'm not worthy to be part of your community. Who makes you think I'm worthy for you to get me a man? If I cannot fit in your groups, how am I going to fit in that man's life? If you cannot afford to accommodate me, why are you sending me to someone's son? I'm just asking. If I'm not worthy, you're hollow. You can't say hello back. I'm not worthy for you to just say hello. Who gives you the right that I'm worthy for you to get me a man? Verse 7, and there was strife and quarreling between the herdsmen of Abraham's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. Now the Canaanite and the Perizzite were living in the land at the same time, making grazing of the livestock difficult. Now the Canaanites as are children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren for Ham, who was cast by his father Noah. So that is a cursed generation. And Abraham is a great-grandchild of Shem. Which generation you count them? These people have great-grandparents who come from the same great-great-great-grandfather, Noah. Do they know? No, they don't know. Relatives are fighting. Blood is fighting blood. Parents, tell your kids your history. It is important. Blood is going to fight blood. I have seen blood that didn't know that it's my blood fighting me. And I'm like, Because they were not told that we related. When people start intermarrying, it is another story altogether. And in Uganda, it's very common. You don't know all your relatives. You're going to find your relative and you disrespect them. Verses 8. So Abram said to Lord, please let there be no strife and disagreement between you and me. Abram is a team leader. As a team leader, you cease fire. But I have seen team leaders increasing their fire. Nga yakumamu. Yatuma abantu okunkola ebintu. And I'm like, wow. Team leader oi. Nga team leader yatuma oyo mumugobe. Ye atya okungoba. Team leader. And I'm like, this is also a team leader. A team leader brings people together. I've worked with team leaders who separate people. They bring other people in our fight, and they make sure that other people hate me. Naye abeera team leader. And I'm like, kyagamba kye bakola, because they are fighting me. They cannot apologize. And I'm like, wow. Pastors, if you do not know what's happening in your flock, don't defend it, please. Don't defend it. Because when you start defending wrong things, I'm going to mention names and dates. Ekkanisa eribu bibyotamanyi nti abantu babikola tobigaaniranga si gwe obazaala. Ekkanisa ya Kristo amazima gaaweta n'obutuukirivu maneya n'emyeziro. Kati ebintu tubyekoleranga bwe twagala. Entiisa ya Katonda yagenda. The fear of the Lord is no longer in charge. So Abram said to Lord, please let there be no strife and disagreement between you and me, nor between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, because we are relatives. He took him out of a good heart. But God never told Abraham to get out with a relative. Now he's carrying a problem on his back. After doing good stuff for him, he forgot. He would have left him there. He was an orphan. But as a team leader, he felt bad and he's like, no, let me take this child along. As a team leader, you care about other people's well-being. As a team leader, you say hello. You pray for people. You check on them whether they have children or not. You check whether their kids are going to school. If they are not, you do something about it. You don't just use people. Verses 9. Is not the entire land before you? Please separate yourself from me. He could not take it anymore. Because he was talking to someone who doesn't understand. When Lot got things, he became something else. He could not control his own team. And he was saying that he's the right one all the time, he's right. If Abraham had left him there, team leaders, let us change. You bring people in your teams to help you, but because gotoyagala gambwako, no one tells you the bad you do, you use people to get what you want. Then when someone tells you about the bad you do, you block people, you get annoyed, throw them off groups, and you say you're serving the Lord. You say you're the head of prayer teams. I don't know what exactly you're praying about with that rotten character of yours. Oh, your teams don't know the rottenness. Sorry, I'm an overseer. The Lord allowed me to see your poor character because I'm a watchman. I see, I hear, I warn, I blow the trumpet. The other part is yours. Ezekiel 33. Jeremiah 33. Read the whole of them before I come to teach about them. Separate yourself from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. And he's even giving him the first opportunity. Oh, if you choose the right, then I'll go to the left. He was older than he is. He's just a child. Because his brother, Abraham's brother, is the father to this young boy. Haran was the firstborn of Terah. He was the father to Lot. But because Abraham is older, he's a team leader. He's the one God told to leave. He did not tell Lot. Lot does not even know how God talks. Nekisooka wali basamize ewaabwe. Ngalabika asamira ne jjajjaawe eddeeya. So Lot looked and saw that the valley of Jordan was well watered everywhere. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It was all like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar at the south end of the Dead Sea. Then Lot chose for himself all... You know how selfish people are. They choose all the good side for themselves. As a team leader, can you do that? You as a team leader, with that character of yours. Your children come first, you come first. Jenny. You're a team leader from board. Everything of yours, you come first. Okay. Then Lot chose for himself all the valley of the Jordan, and he traveled east. So they separated from each other. Abra settled in the land of Canaan, and Lot settled in the cities of the valley and camped as far as Sodom and lived there. But the men of Sodom were extremely wicked. This younger man now is going to a land that is polluted. Careful the places you choose. Ask the Lord first. You need to have a prayer altar. Ask the Lord before you leave. When you are annoyed with anyone, ask the Lord. Go in prayer. Talk about it with the Lord. If you are annoyed with Esther, first ask the Lord before you close that door. You don't know me. We are humans. We make mistakes. Before you close that door on me, before you close that door on anyone else, you team leader, first go and kneel and ask the Lord why we met. I have done that in my life, and in this season, it's one of my medication. In 2020, I made the mistake of blocking people. And the Lord told me, if you want to walk with me, go and unblock all of them. He told me I don't work like that. And he told me it is you who is going to repent. I was like, he's like, you're going to ask for forgiveness. I sent you a message, all of you. And I apologized. All of you got that message. You thought I was doing what? I was making it right with the Lord, so that he doesn't leave me alone in the season when I have no one to talk to. He told me, you're the one in the wrong. You're going to go and apologize. And I was like, what? He's like, yes. You are the one. He did that to me in 2017 and 2018. No, it was basically 2017. It was between me and my siblings. When I was asking them to do for me something, and they gave excuses and they quarreled, I called my mom, told her, tell your children, when they need stuff, they make me run around. When I need help, they give excuses. I told her, tell them never to call me unless it's about your health or my dad. And I hung up. Not even less than 5 minutes, the Lord told me, Esther, you're just 4. Same father, same mother. Do you want to look like your father and his siblings? Because I know what it has caused in my life. I picked my phone. I called it back and apologized. Now I am happy. I was like, Esther, your family members are abroad. Don't call unless you call. Your nuclear family is back in UG. Who will you run to when you have issues and you can't talk to your family back home? Your father is still there, your mother is still there, your siblings are there. The only challenge you have, you can't see them physically, be like hang out, do stuff that you used to do back then. Because the time wasn't working, I'd go back home and check on my mom. Then she gets me muogo on Monday. You know, she packs food for me. Then when they have jackfruit, she removes it from the thing and puts it on the plate. Yay, never so did I penny. And they put on the plate. Those are things I miss. And we sit there with mom and laugh. Even when I don't have money, I love laughing. Because it's one of my exercises for my face. I sit with my siblings and we laugh. And if you find me with my 4 siblings, I love my siblings to the bits. I can do anything for them. I know you also love yours. Hope so. I love mine to the bits. To the bits now. To the bits. This man went into a land that is sinful. America kambyogere mu Luganda. Ejjudde ekibi. Sisembera nnyo mulaba ennyindo yange ennene. Nnyindo yange y'Abaganda si jjojjo. America ekwambula Kristo n'osigala bwereere. Bangi bazze kuno bambala bwereere. America eyambula ekitiibwa n'ekitwala tubanyumiza. Si be batawa kitiibwa education yaffe batuwambula ekikweyimirira wano mu America wano. When you start to talk to people, wano. Mu season eno enkambwe ekintu ekyasinze okunneeyimirira mu America nga teri anneesimbamu. Area gye mbeeramu ya gavumenti. Njogera n'ababitiibwa bokka. Ne bayimirira ne bampuliriza. Ne baŋŋamba, I should come back and listen. You sound so music. I love the way you sound. Mumpozi mwagala abazungu tebabagala. Tugende mu maaso. But why do you think that? It is because of my Jesus. Yannyambaza ekitiibwa. Nze nnyingira ne command yonna buli omu n'atunula waati. Recently on someone's birthday I decided to sing. And everyone came to see who is singing at 6 a.m. I told you I got a certificate of humor, values in motion, humor, the 4th quarter of 2020. The land you go to when God has not sent you there is gonna destroy you. Lot went to a land that is sinful. And wicked and sinful against the Lord, unashamed in their open sin before him. The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had left him, now lift your eyes. Because Abram had an altar, a prayer altar. As a team leader, you need a prayer altar so that the Lord can guide you on how to do things. You are a leader of any sort. The Lord will guide you so that you don't make mistakes that you're going to regret for the rest of your life. careful when you are annoyed. Never allow the moon to fall on your anger. You're going to make a mistake. Ate gwe gye wakulira, they never taught you how to apologize. So it is hard. Something you were not taught while growing up, something you did not practice, is very hard. I tell you, it is very hard. I have seen people who have PhDs in theology. They can't apologize. They don't support anyone. But they want to be supported. They want to be on top of things. They have a PhD in theology. They have scriptures. When they teach, you take off. But their work, they don't support people. But they want to be supported. Simply because you're going to call a PhD in theology. Enjiri etaliiko bikolwa. Ng'efavoringa bufavorinzikwe. Enjiri gye musinga obuulira gye mpulira ya kitwale, kitoola, ojja kuyitawo. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm telling you what is going on. It is called overseeing. Onotubuulirako ddi ku y'okwenenya. Esther twenenya ddaffe bwe twalokoka ekisa ne kikka. Onabeera ng'oli yeetonda neyeetonda nga bye yeetonda bya wiiki ejja. Nawe bw'oli. Kale munnanga ate akola endya gwe mugezi waffe. The Lord said to Abraham, because he has a personal relationship. Your pastors are not emphasizing personal relationships. Bagenda kuwera ennemba ne Katonda mu ggulu. Katonda agenda kukugamba abantu bange be nakuwa mu custody nga tebazze mu ggulu. Tebikukwatako ssebo. Nsumba tebikukwatako. Ebyokugenda kwange mu ggulu tebikukwatako. Are you sure? Do you know why you're 5 in this church of ours? This is a church. Go ofa ku kizimbe. Kino tofa, okimanyi nti tetukula. Tetwakula mwoyo. Tukula myaka. Naye ofa ku kino ekizimbe, mwazimbe bizimbe kati. Kale munnange. Nzaani ayogera kiki kyemmanyi. His personal encounter, because he spent time at the altar. Now the Lord is coming to him and telling him, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are standing, northward and southward and eastward and westward. This is God talking to him because they are friends. For all the land which you see, I will give to you and to your descendants forever. You can read Acts. We'll read it. Hold on. I will make your descendants as numerous as... This is because it's God who told him to leave. When God tells you to leave, he equips you. I did not come here like other people. My journey was ordained by God. He talked about it in 2000, but he never said which country. Then he chose this land for me. What others are going through, I can't go through. Because my coming here is completely different from yours. The reason as to why I came is not the reason you came here. Most of you want everyone to look like you. You all want to go and do nursing. It's not written anywhere. You can go back and study the things you studied while in Uganda. Many engineers have left engineering and went into nursing because of the concept. The challenge is the people you stay with are influencing your journey. They are diverting your journey, and you've allowed it because you fear being alone. Because it's not God who told you to come here. Some of you came here because of spouses. Some of you came here because of conferences and you stayed. Your reason for coming here, you were running away from home. You're going to go to a ground which is sinful. Lot went to a ground which is polluted. But Abraham, the Lord talked to him and told him to look south, west, east, north, all directions of the compass. For all the land which you see, I will give to you. What a word! But that is only going to happen if you have a personal encounter, an altar, time you separate yourself. Now you're done with watching football, you're entering bed. The whole day you've not read your Bible. The whole day you've not talked to the Lord. You're just entering your bed. And over the weekend, it is a party after party. And a problem is going to come and you don't know how to solve it. You don't know how to get the value of X. And the people you hang around with don't have an answer. They don't. Time is gonna tell. My part is to pray for you. That is all I can do. You can take a goat to the eating place, but you cannot force a goat to eat food. You can pull it and kick it, even carry it. But you will not be able to make it eat the grass it doesn't want. Don't forget that part. You can't carry a cow when it refuses. It will kick you. Why do I wait for a kick in my stomach? I've had enough of the beating of my heart. Let me serve my God as He heals my heart from all the rottenness I have received in the 6 years of being abroad. It is time to go on a higher level, on a higher ground. Please stay alive. You have my YouTube channel. You know what's going on now. Help yourselves, your children, your lineages, your wives, your husbands. Uganda. What affects people at home, it affects you abroad. If you were a Ugandan, born and raised in Uganda, you have blood of a Ugandan in your body streams, whatever affects people home, it will affect you abroad. It's called a nation at the crossroad. I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the grains of dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be counted. I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the grains of dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be counted. Arise, walk, make a thorough reconnaissance around in the land, through its length and its width, for I will give it to you. How does it feel when God is talking to you like that when you're an immigrant? And God is telling you, I'm going to give you the whole of London. Stretch your eyes as far as it goes. And God tells you, I'm going to give you America, man. I'm going to bless you. And the Lord says, I'm giving you the whole of Norway, the whole of Germany, the whole of Switzerland, Sweden, the whole of Belgium, the whole of Italy. And you just travel nations. And the Lord is paying all the air tickets. Now your part is to worry about which suitcase you're taking and clothes and toothpaste and toothbrush. But the Lord is giving you everything. How does that feel? Can you even imagine it? Can you? Me, I do imagine it, man. Then Abram broke camp and moved his tent and came and settled by the grove of the great Telbithis oak trees of Mara the Amorite, which are in Hebron, and there he built an altar to honor the Lord. For you, after getting what you want, you only do a party after party. You build a house and you call your friends in Muchigunda housewarming. After the success of your project, instead of going to thank the Lord, you just host a party after party. Team leaders. Kagova kamwe. Team leaders, I love you. But have a personal encounter and have an altar with the Lord. What is the time? I'm going to read one president of the United States of America. He was a team leader. I'm going to read about a man called John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Whether he would withdraw troops or expand the war in Vietnam still hovers over Kennedy's presidency. It was written by Richard Martin. Most enduring mystery of John F. Kennedy's legacy is whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating him. But for historians, a close second is, as president, would Kennedy have withdrawn U.S. forces from Vietnam or escalated the war? Just weeks before his shocking death, on November the 22nd, 1963, I asked you to write for me the strange things that happened on November the 22nd. You did not write them. I told you to go and find out the things that happened on that very day, November the 22nd. You did not. This is very serious. So the man died on November the 22nd. His biography: he was the 35th president, 1961 to 1963. Born May 29th. He's a May baby. 1917, Brooklyn, Massachusetts. Died November the 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. Burial site, Arlington National Cemetery, Arlington, Virginia. Education: is a Harvard student. Political party: he was a Democratic. Age at inauguration: 43. How old are you? How old are you? You don't know. Okay. Vice President: Lyndon B. Johnson. Opponent: Richard M. Nixon. Occupations before presidency: he was an author, a politician, military officer, and a journalist. Other offices: member of U.S. House of Representatives, member of U.S. Senate. Senate. First Lady Jacqueline Lee Bouvier Kennedy, nicknames JFK or Jack. A shocking death. Just 3 weeks before his shocking death on November 22nd, 1963, a long-rumored coup took place in South Vietnam, and President Ngo Dinh Diem was executed. At that time, the United States had an estimated 16,000 military advisors in the country. Kennedy was put to the test right from his inauguration, running headfirst into the Cold War, beginning with a failed Bay of Pigs invasion, an attempt to remove Fidel Castro from power in Cuba in April 1961, and continuing with the Berlin crisis in June 1961 and the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962. Kennedy and his mostly young, inexperienced policy team managed the latter two crises deftly, including averting nuclear war with the Soviets over the Cuba blockade. Vietnam was different. In Saigon, Kennedy first pursued a path to work with South Vietnam's president and longtime U.S. ally Diem, dispatching Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson in May 1961 to increase the U.S. commitment to helping defeat communism in the region. JFK's administration provided approximately $40 million in military and logistic aid and began sending special advisors to train South Vietnamese soldiers to beat back Viet Congo insurgents. The threat continued to intensify, however. And when JFK sent envoys in October 1961 to assess the situation, they recommended sending 8,000 troops. Kennedy opted to commit less. The following year, the Kennedy administration pursued new tactics in South Vietnam, including the forced relocation of peasants in an attempt to isolate them from communist influence, and the beginning of Operation Ranch Hand, in which the U.S. Air Force dumped Agent Orange and other chemicals from planes to defoliate the jungles that Viet Cong forces used to engage the guerrilla warfare. These strategies failed to deter the Viet Cong, and the use of Agent Orange eventually came back to haunt the U.S. when its own soldiers and many Vietnamese reported illness associated with the chemicals, including cancer. The fighting with the Viet Cong also began to take a greater toll. Casualties of American soldiers grew to 109 by 1962, compared to the 14 a year earlier. Kennedy's backing of Diem continued into 1963, though U.S. support of his regime was becoming tenuous. By April, Kennedy sounded dismayed. "We don't have a prayer of staying in Vietnam," he said. "Those people hate us. They are going to throw our asses out of there at any point. But I can't give up the territory to the communists and get the American people to re-elect me." The U.S. continued to ramp up support of South Vietnamese troops, but the Viet Cong forces fought above their weight. In August, the new U.S. ambassador Henry Cabot Lodge a seasoned diplomat who had been a foe of Kennedy, traveled to Vietnam just as Diem, reportedly at the urging of his brother, Ngo Dinh Huong, had begun a ruthless crackdown against Buddhist monks using CIA-trained South Vietnamese troops. Log was tasked with convincing Diem to step down, and for he and New to voluntarily leave the country. They refused, and Washington sent cable to 243, dated August 24th, 1963, instructing Diem to remove New from his government. Again, Diem refused, and Log advised working with South Vietnamese generals to support a coup. In the early September, Kennedy discussed Vietnam during two televised interviews, one with Walter Cronkite on CBS and another with David Blacklin and Chester Huntley on NBC. In the latter interview, Kennedy addressed the idea that American influence had its limitations in Vietnam, saying, "We can't make everyone in our image. And there are a good many people who don't want to go in our image." Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, who would commission the painstakingly detailed Vietnam Study Task Force in 1967, later leaked and known as the Pentagon Papers, had been a Diem supporter. Then, a September 1963 meeting at the White House with two U.S. senior officials just back from Vietnam offered competing assessments of the war on the ground, one citing optimism about the fighting in the countryside, the other suggesting that the Viet Congo were continuing to gain ground, promoting Kennedy to ask, "Did you two gentlemen visit the same country?" In October, intelligence reports suggested that the Vietnamese General Duong Van Mu wanted to gauge how the U.S. would react to a coup. Kennedy told Log to assist clandestinely, though without approving Diem's assassination. On November 2nd, 1963, South Vietnamese forces led by Van My arrested Diem and Nguyen and executed the brothers. Kennedy was assassinated 3 weeks later. Accounts differed widely about when Kennedy would have handed the post-Diem era in Vietnam. His boyhood friend and longtime supporter McGeorge Buddy, who was made Special Assistant for National Security Affairs in the Kennedy administration, went on to become one of the architects of escalating the war under Johnson. McNamara would later insinuate in his 1995 book, In Retrospect, that Kennedy had planned a withdrawal of U.S. troops, though this assassination was ridiculed in reviews. Historian Naomi Chomsky wrote, 2 weeks before Kennedy's assassination, there is not a phrase in the voluminous internal record that even hints at withdrawal without victory. Key achievements of Kennedy: supported the space program and challenged the nation to land a man on the moon by the end of 1960s. Resolved Cuban Missile Crisis during tense negotiations with Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. Banned segregation in federal-funded housing. A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an ideal lives on, says John F. Kennedy. A man may die, Nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on because it's part of your legacy. He died in 1963 on the 22nd of November, but people still use his quotes and his things. Hope whatever you're doing out there can be used by someone. Otherwise, mbagala nnyo musule bulungi, Katonda banjagalire till we meet in the morning. Have a lovely night. Have a good night. May the Lord His face shine upon you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enlarge your territories. Those who are struggling with marriage, may the Lord meet you, meet your spouses and children. Those who don't have what to eat, may the Lord provide. Those who do not have a job, may the Lord provide. Those who do not have documents abroad, may the hand of the Lord meet you and touch the hearts of immigration, so that when a list is released this year and beginning of next year, you're part of those that are going to get a status in the country you're seated in. May the Lord meet you. May the Lord touch your hearts and change you in the name of Jesus. He's a God that changes the hearts of kings, and you are a noble. Everything is possible. If God changes kings, with you it will be a walkover. I believe one day He's going to touch your heart. The Lord is waiting for you to surrender and give Him everything. But if you don't want, you will continue to struggle. I pray that you work on your personal relationship with the Lord. Father, I hide myself in the blood of Jesus. Hide me, Lord. No man or woman or spirit that is not approved of you will find me. Father, I pray that every assignment I have, I accomplish it on time for the glory of your name. I give you praise, I give you glory, I give you honor. In Jesus' mighty name I believe and pray. Amen. Have a good night. Uganda, Africa, the Middle East. Good morning, Asia. I think it's morning. And good evening, the US of A. I'll see you when I see you. And good afternoon to some states who are just having their lunch time. I love you all. I will be back when I am back. I love you all. Take care of yourself. Let us learn to talk to people the right way. Let us learn to love people. Let us learn to forgive one another and learn to ask for forgiveness. Trust me, life will be very easy for you out there. You'll not struggle to get customers if you have a good attitude, a positive attitude, and you love people. And learn to reciprocate. I love you. I sign out.